Okay, good afternoon. At this point, I've done the paper with our grade 10s already. However, at this time that the paper was done, it was during load shedding. So for record purposes, I will be doing the video on this. It will be done with no grade 10s in this lesson either. Okay. So this was the cycle test 1 that was written the 21st of February 2023. It was 1 hour for 50 marks. Okay. So in question 1 we are told given the cube root of -8. If you simplify that, of course, that's -2. There's -2 there. The square root of -25. It gives you error, which is in this case it is non-real. And then the cube root of the cube root of 25, that gives us 2,92, which is an irrational number. So it says from the list write down the integers or integer. As you can see, the cube root of -8 is the only integer there. Irrational number, which is the cube root of 25, and a non-real number, of course, is the square root of -25. Square root of -25. In 1.2, the question says between which two integers does the square root of 28 lie? So we know the perfect square less than 28 is going to be the square root of 25, which is 5. Otherwise, the square root of 36, which is 6. So the square root of 28 is greater than 5 but less than 6. Otherwise, what you could have also done was, you could have said, worked out the square root of 28 equals 5,29. So of course 5,29 has to lie between 5 and 6. Okay. Let's look at the next question. The question says expand and simplify. So if it's instructed to expand and simplify, your final answer should contain no brackets there. So what we do is, we know that's the binomial square there. So we square the first term, gives us a squared, where the middle term is a times -2 times 2, which is -4a. -2 all squared is going to be +4. Now we multiply the -a input. -a times a is -a squared. -a times 4 is -4a. So what we do now is we look for like terms. Okay, so a squared minus a squared cancel. -4a minus 4 is -8a plus 4. Okay. Otherwise, if you don't know how to do that, what we do is we can, rather than say it's a minus 2 squared, can be written as a minus 2 times a minus 2. And then we multiply that story out. A times a again is a squared. A times -2 is -2a. -2 times a is -2a. -2 times -2 is +4. Which leaves us with a squared minus 4a plus 4. Which is that exactly that expression there with that triangle. Okay. We're going to align the board quickly. Okay, we carry on. In 2.2, you should notice a conjugate pair. As you can see, that is in the form of a minus b times a plus b, or a plus b times a minus b. We multiply the first and the last, gives me a squared minus b squared. Okay. Now, it should be evident in the first and the third bracket. But remember, it's going to be 2m minus 3 times 4m squared plus 9 times 2m plus 3. All three brackets must be multiplied by each other. But it's going to be easier if I do that, multiply the first and the last here. So that's going to give us 2m times 2m is going to give you 4m squared. -3 times 3 is -9 into 4m squared plus 9. So that still must be multiplied. Alright? So again we multiply the first and the last. So 4m times 4m squared times 4m squared is going to give you 16m4. Negative 9 times 9 is going to give you positive 81. Now say you didn't know that, okay? You got the conjugate pair. I say 2m minus 3 times 2m plus 3, and I multiply that story out. M, no? So that is going to give us 2m times 2m is going to give you 4m squared. 2m times negative 3 is going to be positive 6m, minus 3 times 2m is going to give you negative 6m again, and then negative 9. And of course that cancel, which gives us 4m squared minus 9, which is already what we have there. Okay. So if you understand the rule, it's going to just be, it's just going to save you some time there. However, if you're not familiar with the rule, then don't apply the rule. You just multiply it out. It will take you a minute longer. However, you will get a mark for the question anyway. Okay, and then that's what's important. To get the full mark for the question that you are answering. Okay. Let's go to the next question. The next question was in 2.3. Again, there's a trinomial by binomial or binomial by trinomial. If you know the rule again, it will make life so much easier for you. Okay? So the rule says I can multiply the first and the last if the rule applies. Okay? So actually that way. So how do we know, how do we identify the rule? We check from the binomial. 3x all squared is 9x squared. That is negative and this is positive. 3x times 4y is 12xy. And the last term is squared, which is negative 4y all squared is going to give you 16y squared, which is correct. So I can multiply the first and the last, which is now going to give me 3x times 9x squared is going to give you 27x cubed. 16y squared times negative 4y is going to give you negative 64y cubed. That's why you didn't know that. Okay, you're not clued up with that rule there. Okay, then what you do is you just multiply it out there. So 9, just put it down. It doesn't look like it's part of the same sum. That's right here, or. So that you multiply out is going to be 9x squared times 3x is going to give you 27x cubed. 9x squared times negative 4y squared is negative 36x squared y, and then 12xy times 3x is positive 36x squared y, and 12xy times negative 4y is going to give you negative 48xy squared, and then 16y squared times 3x is going to give you positive 48xy squared, and negative 4y times positive 16y squared is going to give you negative 64y cubed. Of course that cancels when I add like terms, give you 27x cubed minus 64y cubed. And as you can see in comparison, how much more work are you doing to get the final answer if you don't know the rule? Okay. But once again, if you don't know the rule, it's safer than to do the multiplication. Okay. The next one, you got m into m plus 1 over m times 1 over m plus 1 over m into m plus 1. So you multiply out to get rid of the brackets there. So 1 over m times m is m squared. Now m times 1 over m, that's a common mistake made by learners. They say it's going to be 2m over m, or what I've seen is m squared over 1, or 1 over m squared. People, that's over 1. So m cancels m, so it will give you 1. Or I could have said is m over m, which is still 1 anyway. Okay. Then I go with the second term, 1 over m times m, and m is over 1 again. That cancels, give you 1, plus 1 over m times 1 is 1 over m. Those are like terms, so it's m squared plus 2 plus 1 over m. Okay. Let's carry on. 2.5. The sum was worth 4 marks. Okay, there's 4 marks there. So what we need to do is we need to get rid of the brackets, so we multiply. Okay, so a quarter y squared times 2 over 3x squared. So that will be 2 over 12, which is 1 over 6 y squared. Y squared x squared, or x squared y squared. A quarter y squared times x is going to be positive a quarter x y squared. A quarter y squared times negative 1 is negative a quarter y squared. Minus x times 2 over 3x squared is going to give you negative 2 over 3x cubed. Negative x times x is negative x squared. Negative x times negative 1 is positive x. Now we get rid of that bracket there. Okay, so that's going to give us negative x squared times 1 over 2, or half, x is going to give you negative a half x cubed. Negative x squared times negative 2y is positive 2x squared y. Negative x squared times 7 is negative 7x squared. So of course now I'm going to look for like terms. So xy squared, okay, so let's start here. There's no x squared y squared. So that remains 1 over 6 x squared y squared. Is there an xy squared? No. So that remains a quarter xy squared. Is there a y squared there? No. So it's negative a quarter y squared. Is there x cubed? Yes. Okay. So negative 2 over 3 x cubed minus a half x cubed is going to give you negative 4, 3 is negative 7 over 6 x cubed. You can use a calculator if you like. Those two are like terms again. So negative x squared minus 7x squared is negative 8x squared. Is that x is on its own, so it's plus x, and the last term is also on its own, which is plus 2x squared y. Okay. Just ensure that's correct, as we know there's a lot of terms involved there. So it's 1 over 6 is a quarter xy squared, is a negative quarter y squared, negative 7, negative 8x, plus, that's absolutely correct. Okay. And that is your 4 marks there. Okay, I'm just going to remove the calculator there quickly, so that you can see what is behind there. Alright. Also the question paper with its memo will be found in the description box below. Okay, the link will be there. The link will take you to my Google Drive, where you can download the paper in PDF format. You can work through it from there as well. Okay. People in question 3.1, the question says factorize. So when the question says factorize, our final answer should contain it will contain one term, okay, or brackets only. So as you can see, 724 is fairly large, so it's going to be safer for us to check if 724 is divisible by 43. So 172 divided by 43 gives you 4. So yes, 43 is divisible by, or is a factor of 172. So we know that 43 is a common factor. X squared and x4. X squared is the smaller one of the two. Y cube and y cube. Y cube is the same. Z and z squared. Z. So that is your common factor. Okay. What are we left with? 43 times what is going to be 172? 4. X squared is accounted for. Y cube and the z is accounted for. Plus, because that is a plus. 43 is accounted for. I got x squared. Y cube is accounted for. And z. Okay. So that is fully factorized at that point. Okay. In 3.2, question 3.2, as you can see, a minus b is not the same as b minus a. So what I need to do is I need to first swap that around. So it's going to be a minus b squared minus becomes now plus a minus b. From that square, I know that can be written as a minus b times a minus b. For those of you who are a bit confused there, that is basically what that means. As we can see here, a minus b is a common factor. If I take one of it out, I'm left with the other, a minus b. If I take it out, I'm left with plus 1. Okay. Because a minus b times a minus b is a minus b squared, as you have there, and a minus b times 1 is a minus b. Okay. Otherwise, you can look at it from this angle here by saying, okay, there's a plus a minus b there, and you can take out a minus b as a common factor. If I take out the one, I'm left with the other, a minus b. If I take that out, I'm left with plus 1. Okay. This is 3.3. And 3.3 is one of two ways I can do it. I can either take out 1 over 27 as a common factor, or use it as it is. The cube root of 1 over 27x cubed is 1 over 3x. The cube root of 216 is 8, I think, or 6, is 6. The cube root of 216 is 6. So we take out 1, so we factorize, so that's 1 over 3x plus 6. So what we do is we square our first term, which is 1 over 9x squared. That is plus, so there is minus 1 over 3. X times 6 is 1 over 2. No. It will be 6 over 3, which is 2. 2x plus the last term squared, which is 6 squared, is of course 36. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. I'm trying for the video not to be that long. I'm going a bit faster through it. 3.4. 4 terms, so it's factorization by grouping. So we're going to group the first two. As you can see, m squared is common there, so I'm left with m minus 1. And negative n is common, n squared, sorry, which is m minus 1. There are many made a mistake there. They wrote plus 1. Remember that n, negative n squared times m is negative mn squared, and negative n times negative 1 is positive n squared. Okay. So let's carry on with that then. We now know that between the two terms, m minus 1 is your common factor. If I take that out, I'm left with m squared. Take that out, I'm left with negative n squared. As you can see here in the second bracket, we have the difference of two squares there. So it's m minus 1, m plus n, m minus n. Okay. That's 3.4. Let's see what 3.5 I have in store for us. 3.5 is your trinomial. So you're going to look at trinomial factorization. So what we do is we take this to the product line. Okay, there's now many ways of doing or calculating the factors of this trinomial. So for 6 is going to be 1 and 6, 2 and 3. For 12 is 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Do we add or subtract our products? Of course we subtracted them. So it's 3 times 3 is 9. And 2 times 4 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. And that's what I want. So in the bracket goes 2 and a 3. 2 and a 3. And then a 3 and a 4. So there's x squared. So the x goes there. What about our signs? One must be plus and one must be minus. The bigger product is the sign of the middle term. So of course that is 9x. That is 8x. The bigger one is going to be positive, and of course the smaller one is going to be the other, which is negative in this case. Okay. That's 3.5. Also, if these factors doesn't work, what I would suggest you do is you swap one of the set of factors around. 6 and 1 and 3 and 2. Normally we swap the one that has these factors around. Okay. If those factors didn't work, but in this case it worked out perfectly. Quickly in question 3.6, the last one in factorization, we are given a squared minus 2ab plus b squared minus c squared. Importantly here is that you can group it in groups of 2, but we won't be able to do anything in the second step. So what we note here is that in the first 3 terms is actually a perfect square trinomial. Okay. So now we got the square a minus b all squared minus c squared. The square root of a minus b all squared is going to be a minus b. The square root of c squared is c, which means to say that this is actually the difference of 2 squares. We're going to apply dots there. The square root of a minus b squared is a minus b. 1 plus 1 minus the square root of c squared is C, and of course C again. That brings us to the end of factorization. Now we are at question 4. In question 4, the question says simplify the expression. It's a bit bigger. Okay, 4.1. As we can see here, x is a common factor. So it's x into x minus 1 over 6. That I'll change to multiplication, tumble and times. So it's going to be 9 over x. As you can see now, the reason why fractions are very important. That's why we spent a lot of time with fractions in grade 8. Okay. So what happens now is that we can cancel. So x goes into x once, x goes into x once. 3 going to 3 once, 3 going to 6, to 9, 3 times. 2 going to 2 once, 2 going to 6, 3 times. 3 cancels 3. So the only thing we're actually left with is x minus 1. So it will be x minus 1 over 1, which is in fact x minus 1. Okay. That's 4.1. Let's look at 4.2 I have in store for us. In question 4.2 again, we see that we can factorize the numerator. Okay, so let's factorize the numerator. Again, difference of 2 squares there. So it's p plus q times p minus q over p minus q squared. So we know that p minus q, there's 2 of it here, so that cancels with one of those. So we are basically left with p plus q over p minus q. Okay. 4.3. Question 4.3. Again, you must simplify. Guys may leave, enjoy the rest of your day. Quietly, no? As you can see, I'm still busy. Okay, so that's going to be the difference of 2 squares. So it's 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1 over trinomial in the denominator. So it's 3x, 1, x and 3. So that's going to give you 9. Yes, that is correct. Change to multiplication, tumble and times. It's 4 times 3 is 12 minus 1 is 11. And then trinomial here, which is 3x plus 1, 2x plus 1 times the perfect square trinomial, so it's 3x plus 1 times 3x plus 1 over trinomial again, which is 4x plus, minus 1 and 2x minus 1. So what's going to happen now is that 4x minus 1 cancels 4x 1, 2x minus 1 cancels 2x minus 1. 3x plus 1 cancels 3x plus 1. 3x plus 1 cancels 3x plus 1. 3x plus 3 cancels x plus 3. So that basically, x plus 2 cancels x plus 2. So that basically gives us an answer of 1. Okay. And then the last question, the bonus question. So the pins there quickly while they've been dismissed. Okay, so let's just wrap this up quickly. And the last question, the bonus question, it says determine the value of 3p plus q all squared if 9p squared plus q squared is equal to 12 and pq is negative 3. So if I apply the binomial square rule here, square the first term, which is 9p squared, that comes equals to positive 6pq plus q squared. But we were told that 9p squared plus q squared is equal to 12. So that is 12. Okay. Plus 6pq, we are told is negative 3. So we times that by negative 3. Okay. So that is simply 12 minus 3 times 6 is 18. Which is an answer negative 6. So that basically brings us to the end of cycle test 1 of 20.